The Grace We Forgot. 7 Portraits of Mercy in a World That No Longer Knows It. Elias Winter. May 5th, 2025. Read by an automated voice. Opening. There are words we use without understanding them. Words worn down by repetition, sanctified by tradition, emptied by policy. Mercy is one of them. We invoke it in prayers and courtrooms, in whispers and declarations. We say it when someone spares us. We say it when we cannot bear the cost of justice. But mercy is not softness. It is not surrender. It is not a glitch in the system. It is the choice that makes civilization possible. The choice not to destroy when destruction is deserved. The choice to repair when retribution is easier. And like all sacred choices, it has a history, a memory. This essay is that memory. 7 portraits, 7 moments in which mercy was named, twisted, sanctified, or abandoned. Not as a theory, but as a test. A test we are failing. 1. Ancient roots. Mercy as domination. Mercy did not begin as virtue. It began as theater. In the empires of antiquity, Babylon, Egypt, Rome, to show mercy was not to show kindness. It was to display supremacy. A pharaoh pardoning a traitor did so not because he forgave, but because he could. Mercy was a sovereign indulgence, not a moral demand. The king who spares proves he is untouchable. You see it in the Colosseum. The gladiator kneels, bloodied, waiting for the emperor's thumb. Life or death, decided not by guilt or innocence, but by mood, by spectacle, by the optics of magnanimity. The crowd roars not for justice, but for drama. There was no expectation of fairness, only of hierarchy. To be spared was to be owned. Mercy in this world was power not enacted, but displayed. And yet even then, something stirred. A whisper in the dust. That to spare might mean more than to dominate. That perhaps the king himself needed mercy. But that whisper would wait centuries before it had a name. 2. The Covenant of Hesed. Mercy as obligation. In the Hebrew Scriptures, the axis shifts. Mercy ceases to be performance. It becomes covenant. Hesed, steadfast love. Rachamim, compassion from the womb. These are not royal favors. They are divine commitments. God, in the Hebrew tradition, does not forgive to impress. He forgives because the covenant demands it. Think of Moses on the mountain, pleading for a rebellious people. God, furious, ready to destroy. And yet, the Lord, merciful and gracious, slow to anger. Not because the people earned it, but because mercy is woven into the promise. This is not weakness. It is fidelity. Mercy becomes a form of justice. Not its opposite, but its completion. To forgive the repentant is not indulgence. It is moral maintenance. It keeps the world intact. In this framework, to deny mercy is to rupture the covenant. And that rupture, not punishment, is what God fears most. We have forgotten this. We speak of law and order, of deterrence, of consequence. But a covenantal people asks a different question. What must I forgive to remain who I am? 3. The cross and the enemy. Mercy as grace. And then came the cross. Christianity did not invent mercy, but it did something more dangerous. It universalized it. When Jesus whispered, "Forgive them, for they know not what they do," he was not making a request. He was naming a principle deeper than law. Mercy becomes divine action, grace for the unworthy, love for the enemy. And then, the scandal. You must do the same. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. The two are bound. Personal salvation becomes entangled with public mercy. You cannot be forgiven unless you forgive. This was not comfortable doctrine. It was spiritual dynamite. It stripped forgiveness from the realm of kings and handed it to peasants, to women, to slaves, and it made it mandatory. Mercy here becomes insurgent. Not a performance of dominance, but a revolt against vengeance. The empire crucified Jesus to stop this idea. It failed. But centuries later, that same empire would cloak itself in his name and forget what it meant. 4. In the name of the merciful, mercy as essence. Islam does not whisper mercy. It begins with it. Bismillah-ir-Rahman-ir-Rahim. In the name of God, the most merciful, the most compassionate. Not occasionally, not conditionally. Every chapter, every act begins here. God's mercy is not strategy. It is ontology. It is what He is. And yet, this mercy is not blind indulgence. The Quran links it to justice, to order, to the balance of creation. Mercy is extended to the sincere, the penitent, the striving. But it is always available. And the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is described not as a warrior, not even as a ruler, but as a mercy to all the worlds. This is the posture of a faith born in hardship, in exile, in hunger. Mercy in Islam is not weakness. It is survival. It is the rope that holds community together when law alone is not enough. And it is this rope the modern world has tried to cut, replacing it with deterrence, data, and drones. But even now, millions begin each day by invoking the name of mercy. We should ask ourselves why we don't. 5. The trial and the stage. Mercy versus justice in Christendom. By the time of Shakespeare, mercy had become a performance again, but now in legal robes. Portia, in The Merchant of Venice, pleads, "The quality of mercy is not strained. It droppeth as the gentle rain from heaven." A beautiful line, a haunting one. Because even as she speaks it, she manipulates the law to destroy Shylock. This is the paradox of Christendom. A civilization that spoke of mercy while perfecting the mechanisms of punishment. Cathedrals and prisons, pulpits and gallows. Mercy in the courts of Europe became discretionary. A noble idea, easily denied. A kindness reserved for those with status, narrative, or beauty. But underneath it, the question never left. When is justice enough? And who deserves to be spared? We still don't know how to answer. So we build more courts and forget what they're for. 6. Reason and the wound. Mercy in the age of the rational. Then came Kant, the Enlightenment, and the dismemberment of mercy. To the modern mind, mercy was suspicion, a crack in the system, a deviation from universal law. "Do your duty," Kant said. "Let justice be done, though the heavens fall." But the heavens did fall, and justice did not save them. Tolstoy, Dostoevsky, Gandhi all cried out against this sterile rationality. They saw what law alone could not repair. They named mercy not as weakness, but as courage. To forgive when you are wounded is not to forget. It is to say, the wound will not decide who I become. Modernity did not believe them. And so it built systems without soul, efficient, brutal, and blind. But the soul remembers, even now. 7. The wounds that speak. Mercy as repair. We live in the aftermath, the wreckage of centuries that preferred vengeance to reconciliation. But something flickers still. South Africa's Truth and Reconciliation Commission, Rwanda's post-genocide recovery, the prison abolitionists, the trauma-informed healers, the mothers who forgive the killers of their sons, not to forget, but to live. This is not naive mercy. It is structural mercy. Mercy as repair. Mercy as the hard labor of healing after history has torn everything apart. This is the mercy we must choose now, not as sentiment, but as survival. Because punishment will not save us. Only restoration will. Conclusion. What remains? Mercy is not the opposite of justice. It is what makes justice human. We are a species obsessed with punishment. We mistake pain for correction, silence for discipline, vengeance for vision. But mercy is older than our systems, and it may outlive them. Because mercy is not softness. Mercy is the refusal to let cruelty become culture. Mercy is memory, not of who hurt us, but of who we were before we learned to hurt. And so the question is not whether mercy is deserved. The question is, will we be a people who remember how to give it? Even now, with the flood rising, the empire fraying, the systems collapsing, will we remember? Will we forgive? Will we spare the enemy? Will we become the kind of people who can look power in the eye and say, I will not use you to destroy? If we cannot answer yes, then we do not deserve the mercy we keep asking for. But if we can, then perhaps we have not forgotten everything. Then perhaps, even now, the grace we forgot might still remember us. Elias Winter, author of Language Matters, a space for reflection on language, power, and decline. Thanks for reading Language Matters. Subscribe for free to receive new posts and support my work.